The evolution you were taught was just a physical transformation from a primitive man living in the past to the present. But real evolution is not only a metamorphosis of the body, but also of consciousness. Humanity has not only learned to walk, talk, or make tools, it has also transformed the way it perceives reality. And this is where the quantum leap comes in, because you are not a passive observer of this reality, but a center that directs its frequency. This is the finest point of human evolution. As you evolve, reality bends with you. This article will show you the deepest secrets of human evolution and how it radically changes your individual reality. Once you start to understand, nothing will be the same anymore, because it's not just who you are, it's which version of you are vibrating. Before we go into this, I want you to do 3 things. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave the number 777 in the comments. You can also share it with someone you want to benefit from this video and support their spiritual awakening. Now let's go deeper. So what do we really understand when we talk about human evolution? We are not talking about the biological evolution of species. This is a quieter but much more powerful transformation than the evolution of DNA, the evolution of consciousness. And this is where what we call the quantum leap comes in. Because humanity is now awakening not only to its power to change the external world, but to its inner capacity to encode reality. This change is not noticeable at first. It is silent, it is subtle, it is as if nothing has changed, but your perspective is no longer the same. You wake up one morning, and you feel like you are outside the life that seemed to belong to you before. People talk the same things go on, but inside you a veil has been lifted. You start to feel that you are no longer just a reactant, but a being that is directing energy. This is the beginning of a quantum leap. Because real quantum change is not about manipulating external reality, it is about changing the inner frequency. When you change your vibration, even time starts to bend around you, events speed up. Some stop, some disappear, because you are no longer in tune with your old frequency. And remember, the quantum field is neutral. It responds only to what is harmonious, neither good nor bad. The fears, old identities, past hurts that you hold on to these are just energetic patterns, things that determine your frequency and keep you in the same loop. This is why the next stage of human evolution is not more knowledge, but the capacity to exist in a deeper emptiness. Yes, emptiness, because when you let go of your old identity, there is nothing left first. This is where many people run away. There is no direction, no label, no validation. There is only the state of being. But this invisible space is the 0 point where all possibilities are born, and when you settle there, the quantum field resonates with you, because quantum reflects what you are, not what you want. If you still feel inadequate on the inside, while on the outside everything is fine, the field cannot respond to this duality. That's why evolution has to be experienced, not only with the consciousness but also with the body. Unless what you understand with the mind becomes what you feel with your nervous system, the energy remains divided. So ask yourself, what am I still holding on to? What identity am I holding on to just because it is familiar? Which story am I keeping alive because I defined myself with it? Because everything you don't let go of is a data that locks your frequency. And evolution begins as you clear this data. The leap to a new self is made possible by burying the old self, not with ceremonies but with small decisions. Every time you say, I don't know this either, but I trust it, the quantum field gets a little closer to you. And remember this, you are already ready to leap. The preparation period is actually the process of resistance of old patterns. A new frequency responds to your surrender, not to your readiness. So the real leap begins not when external conditions change, but when you stop resisting. And when that moment comes, evolution becomes not just an internal movement but an external reflection. People change, opportunities appear, time bends, because you are no longer on the old timeline. This is not just a leap, this is the moment when evolution aligns you with itself, and from that point there is no going back, because you can no longer vibrate the old you, and your reality only responds to who you are now. And from that moment on, life as you used to know it cannot reach you. Because you are no longer a being that can resonate with your old frequency. Your past can no longer knock on your door, because that door is no longer there. Your leap has not only transformed you, it has transformed every meaning, every identity and every boundary that makes up you. You are no longer the answer, you have become the source. Instead of the outside affecting you, your inner state began to affect the outside world. And this is where true creation begins. Because you are no longer the seeker, but the caller. Reality starts to follow you. What you thought were coincidences are the echo of your new frequency. When you ask, "How did this person find me?" you realize that you are actually attracting that frequency, not that person. Because the field is now aligned with you. The timeline curves again according to your intention. And this curve is the first curve of your life that opens to synchronized miracles. Remember this, the universe is programmed with your emotions. And when you change your vibration, you recode your life. This is not a theory, this is a state of reality that you will feel in every cell. But at this point many people are afraid. Because they realize that so much power comes with so much responsibility. The question, "Why am I experiencing this?" is replaced by "What frequency did I create this?" This is the true face of awakening, because you are no longer a victim. Life is no longer happening to you, you are coding life. And this realization first stuns you, because your mind doesn't want to give up control. The old identity still struggles to survive, but your heart knows. It is already beating at the new frequency. The new you is nourished by silence. It grows in alignment, not in speed. While your mind tries to remember the past, your soul calls the future. That's why sometimes you feel like you are in a vacuum. You are neither fully in the past, nor fully in the future. This gap is the gateway through which you let go of the old you, and give birth to the new you. And only naked souls can pass through this door. You have to leave your mask, your roles, your defense mechanisms outside that door. Because the quantum leap happens not only with intention, but with nudity. Are you ready to meet the nakedness of reality? That is why this path is not through loneliness, but through purity. The voice you lose in crowds, you hear again in silence. And this voice tells you one thing without ever shutting up. You are already ready. So this path is not about preparation. This path is about remembering. Remembering that you are already in everything. Remembering that you are already light. Remembering that you are already enough. And this remembering takes you to that high frequency. Because you are no longer a lacking person. You are not a seeker. You are now someone who remembers. And someone who remembers is someone who has already happened. So you no longer seek approval from the outside world. The frequency of approval is low, because it serves a version of yourself that you don't know. But now you know. You know that peace is not a goal. It is a side effect. It is a side effect of your frequency. And when you come into inner alignment, that peace starts coming by itself. That's why silence is your greatest weapon. Because in silence the old thoughts that have shaped you fall away. New energy comes before words, and you no longer speak with words, but with your presence. Your field becomes your highest intention. And when you are rooted at this level, that's when your reality starts flowing. Because you no longer have to think about what to do. You already do it. You don't plan what to say and when to say it. Your language already flows. Because you are no longer an individual, but a channel. A gateway to the higher frequency of life. And everything that passes through this gateway now carries transformation not only for you but also for the collective. You are now bending not only your own life but also the collective line of time. Remember, the leap is not only individual. When your frequency rises, everyone around you also receives a vibrational call. And some respond to it, others move away from you. This is not a loss but an alignment. Because the new energy can no longer hold the old frequency. And this is a transition that looks like loneliness, but is actually a process of unburdening. So some people don't leave. You can't stay with them anymore. Because frequency determines everything. And that's why the real quantum leap is not something that happens in an instant. It's something that is realized in an instant. You are already ascending. You are already transforming. And every realization takes you deeper and deeper, higher and higher. Now stop resisting. Stop delaying anymore. Because the universe doesn't need you to delay any longer. It needs you to allow yourself. And when you allow yourself, the universe opens a door to the universe in place of every door that closes for you. A door to infinity. Because infinity is your own frequency. But let me warn you at this point. The quantum shift is not just a springtime mood of dancing positive vibes. It is also a collapse that questions everything that makes you who you are, everything you think you are. Because the real leap is not only about rising but also about sinking deeper. Evolution is not a linear ascent but a cyclical expansion. And to expand, you first have to break your narrow molds. This breaking can be the destruction of an identity, a belief, a past or a belonging. And this destruction makes you fall into emptiness. That is the point where the quantum transition begins. The most striking fact of human evolution is this: evolution calls you not to an outcome but to a deprivation. Everything that is mistaken for deprivation is actually a stripping of false existence. Your answers to the question, "Who am I?" begin to fall apart. The role ends, the masks fall off, and you are left alone with yourself. But this solitude is actually your first pure contact with the whole universe. Because the self, which was shaped according to external conditions, is now shaped by its own vibration. And this moment is the rawest, most unprotected state of reality. There is no shield of protection there anymore. There is only existence itself. This is the quantum leap of human evolution. Your consciousness is no longer just a thinking mechanism. Now consciousness is the creator of perception. Thought is no longer a reaction. It becomes a tool. And most importantly, time begins to dissolve. Because time was an illusion that served identity. When you let go of your identity, there is no more morning, evening, yesterday, tomorrow. The state of being comes into play. And for this very reason, you no longer react to events, you create events. Quantum shift shatters the limited patterns of the human mind. The belief in the chain of cause and effect is replaced by synchronicity. It no longer surprises you that what you think at that moment will appear the next day, because you know reality is not born of thought but of being. The world treats you as you are, and when you truly settle into this frequency, everything around you begins to bow to this silent power. Yes, reality bends, but it is not the external world that bends. It is the way you perceive it and your connection to it. So human evolution is no longer a biological process but a conscious phenomenon. And your real power begins with realizing this evolution. Because when mental control gives way to energy awareness, then you begin to realize that you are part of creation, not nature. From that point on, your choices are not your destiny. Your choices are your vibration. You no longer try to predict the future, you call it. Because you have become a consciousness that directs the flow of time, not one that bows to time. And perhaps the most challenging step in this journey is to learn to say, "I don't know." Because quantum shift is not with knowledge but with wisdom. Knowledge is full, wisdom is empty. The empty space can receive new codes from the universe. When you silence your mind, your soul starts talking. And when it speaks, what you hear is neither a word nor a sentence. It is a recollection. It is as if something you have always known but forgotten envelops you again. This is evolution. Remembering, recognizing again what you already are. And this realization carries you into a different field of attraction. People approach you without knowing why they are attracted to you. Because your being vibrates at the level of consciousness. And this vibration speaks before words. Real energy is not recognized, it is felt. And when your light shines, the darkness looks for a place to escape. Because the high frequency not only illuminates the low frequency, it transforms it or drives it away. That's why some people don't understand you anymore. And they don't have to understand, because you are no longer the teller, but the one who is. But remember this is not the end. Quantum shift is a threshold, not an end. Each realization takes you to a bigger space, and each field invokes a new consciousness. It is a spiral ascent, always up, but always in circles. Because with each cycle another old piece dissolves, with each step another boundary falls, and each time you become a little purer, a little closer to yourself. That's why this journey continues within you, not in the outside world. And the expansion within inevitably turns into a leap in the outside world. Quantum shift is not just a new state of consciousness, it is a new reality. Now your environment changes, opportunities become different. The material world begins to serve your energy, because you are no longer a victim but a creator. You no longer ask life, why is this happening? You ask, what energy am I in? When you really ask this question, everything changes. Because you no longer try to change external conditions. You align the resonance within you, and resonance is always stronger than reality. And now you understand, reality is not something outside you. It is a holographic reflection of your inner being. And when you change, the world changes. That's why true transformation can never be initiated outside. Getting a new job, moving to another country, ending a relationship, or starting with someone new. These are just ripples on the surface. The real leap begins with an inner moment of neutralization. No fight, no flight, just a stopping. A state of complete silence, because the universe hears the quiet, not the tense one. This silence opens up spaces you have never touched before. Emotions no longer rule you, you rule them. The mind no longer copies the past, it aligns with the present. At this point, every moment becomes a door to infinite possibilities. Life is no longer a finished story, but a living process of creation. You are now more than a traveler. You have become a writer. You have become a narrator. And most importantly, you have become a creator. But with this power comes great responsibility, because there are no more excuses. You can no longer say, why does this always happen to me? Now you have to ask, with what energy do I exist so that this reality repeats itself? This question can be painful, but it is also liberating, because one by one it unties the chains that hold you captive to external conditions. You are no longer a consciousness that drifts with the wind, but a consciousness that changes the direction of the wind. This is one of the most delicate points of the quantum leap, letting go of your identity. Because you are not the stories you have lived. You are not the sum total of pain, or the summary of achievements. You are not an experience. You are the experiencer. And this realization gives you another power, the right to choose. No longer in the role of the victim, you move into the position of the creator. No more blaming reality, because you know, reality is nothing but your reflection. At this stage, you realize that evolution is not about becoming a new person. It is remembering to relive what you have always been, free from social conditioning. When you realize this, time collapses, space loses its meaning. You hear the call of your soul, and this call doesn't teach you anything. It only reminds you of what you have forgotten. That's why true knowledge is not that which comes from outside, but that which rises from within. And it is at this moment that evolution becomes a vibrational transition, not an academic theory. The most powerful sign of this transition is when you stop looking for peace in external conditions, because peace is a starting point, not an outcome. Peace is not that external events do not affect your inner world, but that you recode your inner world and the outer world. This recoding is not done with thoughts, but with energy, because the universe hears you not with your words, but with your frequency. And life is shaped according to the frequency at which you vibrate. And now it is time to remember another great secret. Nothing in the universe is forced. Forcing is just another form of resistance. If you are still holding on to something by force, you have not yet surrendered. But the quantum leap is an act of surrender. This surrender is not giving up. Rather, it is trusting in a greater power. You no longer feel you have to control every step, because you know, when you are aligned on the inside, everything on the outside falls into place. From that point on, there is no question of timing for you. Everything comes on time, neither early nor late, because you are no longer living according to the timeline of the mind, but of the soul. This timeline works intuitively. It works by vibration, not logic, and that's why many people may call you irrational. But you know, true intuition is an intelligence far beyond logic. That intelligence works in synchronization with the essence of life. And now you understand reality is not something outside you. It is a holographic reflection of your inner being. And when you change, the world changes. That's why true transformation can never be initiated outside. Getting a new job, moving to another country, ending a relationship, or starting with someone new. These are just ripples on the surface. The real leap begins with an inner moment of neutralization. No fight, no flight, just a stopping, a state of complete silence, because the universe hears the quiet, not the tense one. This silence opens up spaces you have never touched before. Emotions no longer rule you, you rule them. The mind no longer copies the past, it aligns with the present. At this point, every moment becomes a door to infinite possibilities. Life is no longer a finished story, but a living process of creation. You are now more than a traveler. You have become a writer, you have become a narrator, and most importantly, you have become a creator. But with this power comes great responsibility, because there are no more excuses. You can no longer say, "Why does this always happen to me?" Now you have to ask, with what energy do I exist so that this reality repeats itself? This question can be painful, but it is also liberating, because one by one it unties the chains that hold you captive to external conditions. You are no longer a consciousness that drifts with the wind, but a consciousness that changes the direction of the wind. This is one of the most delicate points of the quantum leap, letting go of your identity, because you are not the stories you have lived. You are not the sum total of suffering, or the summary of achievements. You are not an experience, you are the experiencer. And this realization gives you another power, the right to choose. No longer in the role of victim, you move into the position of creator. No more blaming reality, because you know, reality is nothing but your reflection. At this stage, you realize that evolution is not about becoming a new person, it is remembering to relive what you have always been, free from social conditioning. When you realize this, time collapses, space loses its meaning. You hear the call of your soul, and this call doesn't teach you anything. It only reminds you of what you have forgotten. That's why true knowledge is not that which comes from outside, but that which rises from within. And it is at this moment that evolution becomes a vibrational transition, not an academic theory. The most powerful sign of this transition is when you stop looking for peace in external conditions, because peace is a starting point, not an outcome. Peace is not that external events do not affect your inner world, but that you recode your inner world and the outer world. This recoding is not done with thoughts, but with energy, because the universe hears you not with your words, but with your frequency. And life is shaped according to the frequency at which you vibrate. And now it is time to remember another great secret. Nothing in the universe is forced. Forcing is just another form of resistance. If you are still holding on to something by force, you have not yet surrendered. But the quantum leap is an act of surrender. This surrender is not giving up, rather it is trusting in a greater power. You no longer feel you have to control every step, because you know, when you are aligned on the inside, everything on the outside falls into place. From that point on, there is no question of timing for you. Everything comes on time, neither early nor late, because you are no longer living according to the timeline of the mind, but of the soul. This timeline works intuitively. It works by vibration, not logic. And that's why many people may call you irrational. But you know, true intuition is an intelligence far beyond logic. That intelligence works in synchronization with the essence of life. Now ask yourself, who am I really? If you answer this question only with name, age, profession or past experiences, the leap has not yet begun. But if there is a deep silence on this question, if you don't have an answer but a strong sense of being rises in your heart, that is where the real you is beginning to emerge. And that feeling carries a certainty that no words can give you, because that feeling is the pure essence of being. It is the direct connection the universe has with you. Now you can see it. Human evolution is driven by consciousness, not by technology or knowledge. It is no longer about learning more, but remembering more. Not to possess more, but to purify more. Not to talk more, but to hear more deeply. In this new age, the most valuable knowledge will be the answer to the question, who am I? That comes from within, not from without. And this answer can change the direction of your whole life in an instant, because external events are no longer your enemy. They are only the echo of your inner vibration. And when you realize this, you stop fighting the world. Instead of fighting with life, you start dancing with it. That's when you become a true creator. You no longer strive to survive. You exist to create life. And before we close, I want you to know this. Dr. Joe Dispenza says the following: when describing the inner transformation of human beings, thoughts produce chemical signatures. If you think the same emotions every day, your body becomes addicted to a chemistry from the past. and this addiction chains you to the old self. This sentence actually points to the scientific background of quantum change. Thoughts and emotions are not just mental events, they are chemical realities that leave physical traces. And as you continue to tell yourself the same story every day, you make not only your mind but also your body dependent on the energy of the past. Quantum leaping means breaking this addiction. With new thoughts you generate new sensations. With these new sensations you change the chemistry of your body, and therefore you recode your reality. Science no longer denies this, it supports it. And perhaps the most shocking thing is that as you change, the universe observing you also sees you differently. Because the observer effect theory says that even observing something at the quantum level changes its behavior. In this case, the universe no longer responds to your old self. It synchronizes with your new self. That's why there is no going back. You can no longer live like someone who has forgotten who you are. You can no longer make ordinary choices, because you are not ordinary. You are the consciousness that made the leap. And now the real journey begins. Thank you for being with me on this journey. Your presence, the way you direct your attention here, the vibration you emit, all of this is no coincidence. You are not just a spectator, you are an active part of this evolution, this transformation. Now you know your outer reality is being rewritten by your inner leap. So now Mias, stay aligned, don't lower your frequency, don't stop playing with the quantum field, because as you continue, the universe continues to transform with you, and this new reality is now being written with you.